Michael Kusugak grew up in Repulse Bay, Northwest Territories, now Nunavut. During his childhood, his family traveled by dog sled, living a traditional Inuit lifestyle. He is the author of 12 children's books, including The Littlest Sled Dog, The Curse of the Shaman, T is for Territories, Northern Lights, The Soccer Trails, winner of the Ruth Schwartz Award, Hide and Seek, My Arctic 123, and Baseball Bats for Christmas. He was also a co-writer of A Promise is a Promise with Robert Munch. Michael lives in Manitoba and spends most summers in Rankin Inlet, Nunavut.
I am Arbarluk. Down here, people call me Michael Kusugak, but actually, I can't call myself Michael Kusugak because when I was born, I was baptized by a French priest, and he called me Michel. So it should probably be Michel, but I've never really had a loving connection to that name. The other thing is Kusugak was actually my father's name. In Inuit culture, we have always named our children after people. It is like being reborn. When you are born, you are named after an old man. Well, I was named after an old man, actually. And when I was 6 years old, an airplane came and took us away to Chesterfield Inlet to go to school. And we had to live with a whole bunch of nuns and priests. And we had to go to school for the whole school year. And it was one of those infamous residential schools. And when I was in school, we had to go to church at least twice a day, every day, sometimes 3 or 4 times. And the first year, when I was 6 years old, we lived in the attic of the Roman Catholic mission. And every morning I had to go down the stairs to go to church, which was attached to the mission. And when I went down, there was always this old man who sat on a chair down at the bottom of the stairs. That's what I remember as a little kid, 6 years old. And when I came down, this old man, he would take my hand and he would take me outside and he would show me the weather. And the weather consisted of looking at the sky, to look at the way the sky looked. And then he told me about how the sun looked in the sky. He told me about the clouds. He told me about the way the weather looked on the horizon and the way the wind felt and all this stuff. Every morning, this old man would take me outside. And at first, I had no idea who he was. But one day, after I don't know how many times I'd been outside with this old man, I looked up at him and I said, "Why do you do this?" And he looked at me and he said, "Why do I do what?" I said, "Why do you take me out here and show me all the stuff? You show me the sun, the clouds, the sky, the weather, the wind, and all this stuff. Why do you do this to me?" And he said, "Who are you?" I said, "Arbarluk." And he said, "Me too." And then he said, "And who else are you?" I said, "Nukadlak." He said, "Me too." And then he said, "And are you anybody else?" I said, "Michel." He said, "Me too." And he said, "And are you anybody else?" I said, "No, that's it." And then he said, "Me too." And he said, "You see, you're me and I'm you." And I go out and do this every morning. I look at the clouds, I look at the sun, I look at the weather, and I feel the wind, and so I will know what the weather is going to do today. And if I know what the weather is going to do, I know exactly what kind of a day I'm going to have. And because you're me, this is what you have to do. And it was that day I learned who I was. I was this old man, and I thought, wow, this old man is really smart. And someday I'm going to be really smart because I'm him. And that is the way we name our children. I have 4 boys of my own, and the first one I named Kilak. And I named him after an uncle that I had who lived in Chesterfield Inlet. And I named him Kilak because my uncle Kilak was one of the greatest storytellers I have ever heard. And he used to make these stories come alive, and I wanted that to rub off on my son. And when we named my son after my uncle Kilak, who had passed away a few years before, the most wonderful thing happened. His sons and daughters started coming to visit us. And what they did was they came to visit their father, who was my little baby. And one day one of them came with a CD, or it was a cassette. And my uncle Kilak had composed all these songs. He composed some of the most wonderful songs. And he had a cassette, and he gave it, one of his boys gave it to my son and said, "This is yours," and I give it back. And another time, another of his kids came over with a snow knife, a panna, and gave it to my son and said, "This is yours. I came to give it back to you." And so, we are related to all these people now. Well, I've always been related to them, of course, but it was a whole new relation in our family. And the thing about names in Inuit culture is that the names really don't have a gender. My second son, his name is Katlak, and we all call him Katlak. And we named him after an old woman who lived in Baker Lake, Tapatai's wife. And the same thing, as soon as we named my son after old Katlak, all her kids started coming and saying mother, like they called him their mother, because he's named after their mother. And my third son is Angnanayuk, and he is named after my cousin, who was a woman, and she died too early, too young. So we decided, we wanted her in my family, in my immediate family. So we named my boy Angnanayuk, and he is proud of that name today because all his sisters call him their sister. And that is the way Inuktitut work. My youngest son is Kusugak. He's named after my father, so I call him my father. And that is the way our relations are built, and how people are reborn as little babies. And my son Angnanayuk had his first boy. He named him after me. And so there's an Agbaluk that, who is me. And I like to think that someday when I pass away, I will be looking at the world through his eyes, and I will be reborn as him. And I absolutely love the way we name our young people, our kids.